as Eli Manning stays on his feet. It is caught by Tyree.
Welcome to Catch the Moment Podcast. I am your host, David Tyree. Appreciate y'all for checking back in. This is where you come to get the pearls, the gems, the pain points. Every obstacle we're going to overcome to get you to your next moment and your next destination. This week, I'm here with the king. Oh, okay, so you didn't know that Jayson Bromley, former New York Giant, we're gonna give you the real gems on why he's the king. Jay, family, what's good, bro?
Hey, DT, man, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. Finally.
Listen,
The Rock
finally.
has come back. Nah, we good.
All right, so Jay, 2014, right, was rookie year, right?
Yes, sir.
So this is a fun fact. I come back to the Giants in 2014, director, player development. Your rookie class, obviously Odell Beckham Jr. I know you were the third round pick. Who was second?
Weston Richburg, center. Yeah.
There you go, Weston. And then we had Dre Williams. Big shout out to my first rookie class. But we had history before that with the orange, with the Syracuse Orange family. So,
Yes.
But man, where do I start with you, bro? We go back like
Funk Flex and Cadillacs.
come on,
man.
bro. Like peanut butter and jelly out here. All right, so let's start there, right? Like you're from Queens, New York. And boy, you got a story that we're gonna dig into, because I just love your journey. But you're from Queens, New York. Let's go to that moment. What was, what's going on in your head right now? You didn't get it the easy route. We're gonna get into, some of that journey as well. But here you are, getting drafted to the hometown team, from Queens to upstate New York, back to Jersey with the New York Giants. What was going on in your head and your heart? At that moment?
Man, the crazy part about me getting drafted was where I was, okay? I was in Tops supermarket when I got drafted.
Bro,
So,
what are you doing?
yeah, so long story short, my agent told me I was probably going to go like fourth round. So in my mind, like I'm just a competitor. So I was watching it. I knew I wasn't going to go the first day, but I watched, right? Just to see who went. Second day comes, I'm watching because in my mind, like, I don't think there's 5 defensive tackles better than me. So if 2 went in the first round, I'm just looking like I'm better than him, I'm better than him, I'm better than him. Like that's just my mentality. So I watched the second round in my dorm room or whatever. And then so I watched the second round. I'm watching, all right, man, I'm better than him. All right, cool, I'm gonna go to the store. So me and my girlfriend at the time, now wife, we go to Tops and we go get some popcorn. We're like, all right, we're gonna get some popcorn, we're gonna watch a movie, right? Yeah. I get the Tops. And I get this weird number in my phone, right? So I'm from New York. 347, stuff like 718. I get stuff like that. I don't get the other numbers, whatever these Jersey numbers are, right?
No doubt.
Where I'm from, Jersey was just like, Jersey might as well have been Alaska, okay? I'm not from upstate. It is what it is. I'm sorry.
That's how New York is. That's
New
how
York,
y'all vibe.
that's how we feel, man.
There's nothing else other than New York City.
New York
if you're from the city.
Right, like if you upstate New York, what? All right, come on, man. So I see this number and I pick it up and I'm like, hello? And it's Tom Coughlin on the phone. And he's like, hey, Jay, we're about to pick you coming up right here in the pick 74 right here. And then, hey, man, the first thing you say, hey, you're 285, huh? 315. 315. And I'm like, what? I'm like, first of all, I'm not 285. I'm 295, right?
Okay, man.
I was 305 at the combine. What you reading? You know what I'm saying? But then... So I get the number, then he gives it to Jerry Reese is the next person. So I get a quick phone call with them. So I didn't even get a chance to see them go up, call my name.
So you ain't see none of this on the bulletin.
I get the call in Tops, and it was party time after that.
Oh my God! So Tops is so you upstate New York?
Yeah, it's Syracuse.
So you ain't even come back home at the time. You training upstate?
What happened was I was training upstate after the combine and all that stuff, obviously, and I'm training upstate. I graduate. Okay. So the draft is, let's say, May 9th. I graduate May 10th.
Boom. There we go.
So I'm upstate because I'm about to graduate the next day.
Got you.
So I literally get up. I get drafted to the Giants. Upstate has this big mall up there. I don't even think I have a license at the time. I take my wife's car or my girlfriend's car. I drive to the mall. Dirty. I go get me a cap from Lids, and with the New York Giants, I get my name stitched on the side.
Nice.
So I get J stitched on the side. You know how you go to graduate, everybody got their little hat or whatever, they mark it up, their little tassels or whatever. Man, bump that, man. I'm celebrating the Giants. I'm wearing my Giants hat. I ain't gonna toss this one though. I'm gonna keep this one when everybody throw their hat.
That's a class. You still got it?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, good man, good man. All right, so I'm gonna rewind because we always got to go back to the not so current events. Where were you? We talk about catch the moment. Where were you back in almost 15 years ago? Where were you when you first saw the helmet catch?
So I didn't play football until I got to high school. Mm-hmm. So that was around that time, that 2007, 2008. Okay. So that was the first Super Bowl I ever watched.
The first one?
First one I ever watched. Golden, okay? And so I remember my coach had like a football watching party at the house. Yeah. And I remember being there watching that game. And obviously that time, Patriots undefeated. Everybody a Patriots fan. No doubt. My coach was a big Jets fan, so he didn't like the Patriots, right? So he was rooting for the Giants no matter what, New York. So seeing that catch, man, I'm going to tell him, people didn't know, this about you, but he put some molasses on his helmet before he went out.
It's molasses.
He put some molasses on his helmet.
Not gum.
Not
stick. Molasses.
Your Southern grandma know about that. She used to dip her biscuits in it.
That wasn't honey on it, but that was molasses. It's thick. Right. It's the texture.
Right. It's thick. That's what he had back in the day. But that's man, it was a phenomenal moment, man. And obviously being from New York, all that pride.
I know. Listen, I'll be thinking about like what the city must have looked like. Because I noticed the streets was just lit up in general. Like all them Giants fans and people neighborhoods like, yo. Nah, that's what's up, man. So you was just getting into your football rhythm. All right, so let's get back. Now, Jay, like I said, obviously you started your football a little later, but you do get that D1 scholarship at Syracuse. And honestly, you had a pretty dynamic, Doug Marrone was your coach, right?
Yes, Doug Marrone brought me in. That was my first coach.
So yeah, man. So y'all had a good little run with Doug Marrone. What would you say is your defining moment as an athlete? Up to this point, right? Because you're still emerging and doing some tremendous things, which we'll talk about. What's your defining moment in your career?
If I had to say defining, I have to say something that really helped traject me and give me opportunity moving forward to do everything I've been fortunate enough to do, and that would come from high school. What that means by that is I didn't have 20, 30, 10, 5, 3, 2 scholarships. I didn't have none of that. I'm coming from New York City, the Mecca of basketball. We're not known for football like that.
Not at all. And we talk about not the outskirts, not upstate New York, not Westchester.
No. We talking about New York City. We talking about the concrete jungle. We talking about Queens, Bronx, Brooklyn, Long Island. That is everything that I grew up in. So I didn't have any scholarship offers. So come around June of my senior, after I graduated high school, I had no scholarship offers. The only one I had was from Stony Brook. They pulled that because they didn't think I was going to clear clearinghouse. Because if you go, people don't know this, but if you're going to go D1, you have to have a certain amount of things that you have done. You have to. It's a sliding scale between your SAT, ACT, and your GPA in order for you to play D1 immediately. So I didn't know about that. I was just playing football to play football. And being one of the first people to do that, my coach didn't know to kind of push me in that way. Yeah. So I had to get with my guidance counselor, figure out things, take 2 math classes that summer just to prepare myself if I played for anybody. So the defining moment came when I played in this All-Star game, the Empire Challenge. Shout out Boomer Esiason. Okay. That's his game every single year, Long Island versus New York City. Yeah. And I was the only player, if not one of the only player picked from Queens to play in that game. And I was all city defensive end. And the reason why that game is so defining is because I don't have any scholarship offers. I play in that game. I win most valuable player of the game. The next day, Syracuse offers me a scholarship. June 23rd. So letters of intent go out. People up there with they picking all their hats. You know what I'm saying? In like February. That's crazy. June 23rd, I get a scholarship. They find it. And before that, Doug Marrone didn't even want me. He told my coach my feet were too slow to play at Syracuse. And then I go and I show out. I have like 3 or 4 sacks and 10 tackles. I think a blocked field goal, all kind of crazy stuff. And next day, hey, man, we found something.
We got something for you.
We found something for you.
Old Macho Man said the cream will rise to the top.
Oh, all the time.
Man, that's a dynamic experience. And I think everybody should understand, like, you know, number one, it does take a peculiar moment, right, to kind of have that moment where it's like, oh wow, and it's never too late, right? Like even in that particular instance, it's a 12-hour experience where you had the goods, but it was the right time, right opportunity to put that on display. Make sure you don't miss that. All right, so boom, Syracuse, somehow they catch the diamond in the rough. And you've acknowledged that. So what was that journey like, and how long did it take for you, like I said, coming off not being on the radar to getting into one of the, at least historically, one of the most prominent football traditions historically? I know it's been a rough time for Syracuse. Y'all ease up. But what was it like now being in the middle of that, knowing that all that history, trajectory? I know you felt like you belonged, had something to prove, but how long did that take, and what was your progression like, you know, getting into the program?
Reality was, man, I always, like you said, I always felt like I had a chip on my shoulder. And, you know, I'm grateful that, you know, I have to steal your tagline. I caught the moment.
No doubt.
You know, for that in that all-star game, right? Because I just always felt like what motivated me was seeing other people that they thought were better than me.
Yeah.
So when I seen the Dominique Easleys, when I seen the Chris Brathways, the people that had D1 offers that played my position, I was like, man, I'm going to prove something. And then when I got to Syracuse, I went up to Syracuse. My mom put me in the back of that Tahoe. And my daddy, and we drove up to Syracuse, and I remember like yesterday. I'm big. I'm 6'3", 6'4". As long as I can, my legs cramping up. Mind you, I'm saying like Syracuse was a part of New York I didn't even know about. All right, I'm just like, Syracuse, what's that? That's New York. You know what I'm saying? It might as well have been Antarctica.
Man, listen. You know, the funny thing is, like, everybody thinks, like, the people who don't know, you think that it's not a different world. You think that it's going to be an extension of New York. And then you get up there, man, that thing looked like a Juvenile video back in the day. Off campus, in the Salina Street, you like, oh, these niggas pull up here.
Yeah. and it's weird because the whole campus is like its own city in of itself. It's like 100%. You got the projects, you know what I'm saying? You got the projects, you got the city, you got the suburbs, all on the same campus. But then, if you go outside the campus, it get real dangerous, it get real fast. You're like, okay, you want to go get some chicken? Okay, go ahead and get some chicken. See if you make it back.
That's fantastic. So, what was your breakout? And I'm going to peel back to your journey because I know you've overcome a lot. And you know, like I said, growing up and it's like I don't like to shape narratives. Like none of us are victims to circumstance, and that's what allowed you to achieve great things. But, you know, at what point did you begin to kind of like smooth out and the Syracuse staff begin to recognize that they might have had some here? Was there a breakout game? And when did you begin to excel? And maybe if there was a performance that you can remember that was like, okay, I'm here.
We'll get to the I'm here moment, but the interesting thing about that is I had never been on a plane until I got to Syracuse. So I was 18 years old, 19 years old, and I never had even been on a plane.
Was you afraid of them?
No. Look, only thing I remember about a plane is watching the Michael Jackson movie and when he was crying when he didn't want to get on the plane.
Oh, like the American Dream?
Yeah, I remember that. And I remember that's my idea of planes. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be thunder. I'm gonna cry a little bit. I don't know, right? So that's my only memory of planes. And then on top of that, the first game, it ain't like it's an hour plane ride. We're going to Washington. We going 5.5, 6 hours from Syracuse.
They're going coast to coast.
Coast to coast. First game.
Snap.
I remember like it's yesterday. Jake Locker was the big time quarterback at that time, and they was Jake Lockered out. So the reason.
For Washington.
Yeah, he was that guy at the time.
Okay.
So how I knew that, because I was always a put my head down and go to work kind of guy. I didn't always understand how far I was progressing at what level.
Sure.
What I knew, especially being like their last scholarship offer, right? I'm not knowing I'm going to play, right? I don't know none of that stuff. So, but I get to the game, how I knew, you know, in college, they can redshirt you.
Sure.
Right? Redshirt meaning, for people that don't know, that means that you, instead of getting 4 years at a college, you get 5.
That's
you
right.
Get an additional year, but you don't play that year.
You don't play that first year.
Right. But what they
I got redshirt. I was not good enough. Maybe a different era, you know, I'm just saying.
Right. I don't know, man. You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
So after that, they burned my red shirt the first game.
First game
at Washington.
Woo,
So
hey,
what,
listen, that means the boy can play a little bit, okay?
So look, but the funny part about it is, I'm 18 years old. The thing about college is, if you're 18, The guy across from you could be 22, he could be 23, he could be 24, he could be gray shirted, he could be 25 years old. We just seen that with Stetson Bennett from Georgia. You can have a grown man across from you.
All facts.
So the first play I get, they run an inside zone. That's all I know. That's all I know. I'm just looking up. Why you put me out here, coach? I'm ready for these monsters. What you got?
What is going on?
Right, this is way faster than practice. This ain't the same. Like you set me up for failure. But that taste of the big time, like a sold out stadium, seeing the Jake Locker, like the lights, it was like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Okay, this is where it's at. All right, I got it. I'm gonna figure it out.
I love it.
So that's just my mentality. And then from there, that was my freshman year.
Sure.
Every game, I just got better. Every game.
Excellent.
And I remember coming back Rutgers. I really wanted to go to Rutgers.
Yeah.
And so when I went to that camp, I went to the Rutgers Big Man Academy camp. This is when what's his name? Shiano.
Yeah.
He had a red Escalade. I remember with the chrome side. I remember seeing his Escalade and everything. And I'm just like, I want to come here. I hope they offer me.
Yeah.
And they didn't offer me, right? They didn't give me no love. And I'm like, okay, cool. So when we played Rutgers, that was it. That's when Muhammad Sanu was running the Wildcat and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So if I had a game where I had to say my freshman year where I was like, okay, I belong here and I came out, it was versus Rutgers.
Nice. That coming out party, big dog. Listen, so that's a beautiful thing. I'm gonna turn back the hands of time a little bit, because like I said, it wasn't all peaches and cream. So tell me what life was like growing up in Queens. Obviously, I know a little bit of this personally, but what was life growing up in the crib, family? Because it's some real power. Like you were actually I'm sure the Daily News was out here telling your story when you got drafted. So let's get into it, because ultimately that's what made you who you were. But you weren't debilitated by it. So talk about it.
Yeah, I was fortunate, and in many ways, I'm grateful. I was raised with my aunt and my uncle. So I was adopted by my aunt and my uncle. They took me in when I was 3 months old. When you get older, the only thing you have as far as the story of everything goes is what the older people, whether it be your mom, dad, your uncles, your brother and sisters, what they tell you of what happened. Yeah. You kind of like, when you come from the hood, you really don't even know you poor.
Hey, man,
And
so that's I ain't gonna go too long, but like that's the big things. Like you don't know, like listen, we put water in the ketchup back in the day, we good. Like we ain't no problem,
right?
Like,
this is
that's
life.
What you do. We ain't gonna waste this,
right? This is life, right? So you don't even know how all these things affect you. But from what I understand, my biological mother, left me at a friend's house, and then my biological father picked me up, and then took me to my auntie, which is Frances Ann. That's my mom. And then she decided to adopt me with my dad. That's Roy Nimmons. So Francis and Roy Nimmons adopted me. Okay. So I'm grateful for that. And they raised me my entire life. And then my biological father and mother. My father went away shortly after I was adopted, probably like 2 or 3 months after, for 17 years in prison.
Ooh. So who named you? Because it's Jayson King Bromley, right? We can't. I got the king at the table, so we got to put the full. Isn't that the full? Isn't that the government? Is that the government?
No. Look, I added the king.
You added? Okay.
I added the king. That was. I don't know when. But Facebook was popping. I wanted to stand out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I just said Jayson King Brown because I'm middle name Craig, and maybe I saw Friday and I didn't feel like that caught me.
Like the Craig. You want to fit Craig?
Yeah, I want to fill in the Craig part.
Come on, Craig. No, he said, come on, King.
Right. Come on, King. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I was just feeling. All
right, so you had to spice this up a little bit.
Spice it up. Yeah.
My dog. Well, listen, I'm going to give you the king. I'm going to let you ride out with the king. That's how you introduce yourself to me. Yeah, you Jayson King Bromley.
If it's on Facebook, it got to be real.
It got to be real, man. It's complicated.
Right.
All right, boom. So that's obviously, like I said, no one knows, right? And so talk about it. Aunt, uncle, they raised you up. What was life like in the crib? I mean, like, what was life like growing up in Queens? Well, was it good? Was it hard? What were the difficulties that you kind of had to navigate through? Because I know there was some of that.
Interestingly, so I didn't have the Fresh Prince opportunity, right? So I didn't get a chance to go with Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, get in the mansion, and you know what I'm saying, and live out that life, and see the dice in the mirror. I didn't get a chance to live like that.
Yeah.
So when I was fortunate enough to be picked up and raised and adopted by my aunt, my uncle, I still went back to the hood.
Was in the hood?
You know what I'm saying? I still lived in Brooklyn for a while. I lived in a project. So So it was still that environment, right? So in the environment, my neighborhood was probably like gangs, blood, Crips, MOB, and then I was the youngest. I'm the only boy. I have 3 older sisters. So I was protected in that way, but also and every man I've ever seen, like I said, my father went away for 17 years. So I didn't even see only time I saw my father growing up was when we took that long ride up north. Yeah. And then you had to have your ID, your birth certificate, all this stuff just to get through the gates. And we brought him some Chinese food a couple times, and that was the only thing I knew about my biological father before he didn't get out of prison until I was 18 years old. Got you. So, but growing up, man, my mom.
What did he go to prison for?
He went to prison for murder, actually. Ooh. Yeah, it was tragic. Yeah, just unfortunate, man. The mistakes that people make, when they're poor decisions that they make.
There you go. And I think that's the reality, right? So there's 2 things that we always acknowledge, and there's decisions that we make, right? There's mistakes that can be made. We have to bear the consequences of both of those. And then there's things that happen to us in life, like, and those are things that you can't control. So, but everybody has to live out that experience and how it affects them. Sometimes we don't even know until we become adults. Right. And but we're shaped by them, and we have to figure out how to overcome them. So like I said, when you're a kid, everything's just your norm.
It's normal.
God.
And every man I've ever known, even after my dad, every man I've ever seen besides my Roy, my adopted father, every other man I've ever known that come in the house came from the penitentiary. So it was like and they always had these weird names. They always had these nicknames. Give me Life, Eternal, Ice. Like that was their names. You know what I'm saying? Like this is everybody I know. Like this is Ice, Eternal. Like, and then I'm like sharing bedrooms with them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like teaching me how to do push-ups, teaching me how to do jail meals, how they take the can of octopus and they do the rice. Like literally, like that's when I'm learning. You know what I'm saying?
Was it some ramen mixed with the octopus?
It was all kind of stuff, man. It was just like I had to learn how to do push-ups. Like he's sleeping on the couch. He got his regiment. You know what I'm saying? He just got out. My man Eternal, he doing push-ups. I'm learning how to do push-ups. You doing push-ups? I'm going to do push-ups. You right outside my door. I might as well come out here and do something with you. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even asking what it's like on the inside. I don't want to know. So I'm just...
Now you good with that one?
Right. That couch probably feel really good.
All right, so you're a young scrap. This is what life looks like growing up. How did you keep the straight path? I mean, like in general, like you're so meeting Jay Bromley is your temperament, your disposition, your personality is so far from what you grew up around, like pimps and talk. Like tell me about. I know that was an element. Like you grew up around that perverse culture, for lack of better terms. Now I know it affected you as a young man growing up. Not that you was like Rudy Two Shoes, but you didn't become a jailbreaker. You didn't become the direct product of the environment. So how did you keep the course and kind of navigate and create those opportunities with sports?
Yeah, I was fortunate to not become the statistic that everything would point to. To speak to what you're saying, yeah, my father was a pimp. My mother was a prostitute. That was the relationship. And then one of the women that my father ultimately went to jail for, she was a prostitute as well. And that was actually my oldest sister's mom. So that's where all that came from. And then everything around that, like I said, I grew up with my uncle and like still in the hood and their relationship, seeing all the ebbs and flows and just my brother was a pimp. So I got an older brother who's old enough to be my dad, and then he used to bring women around all the time. And then my mom was like a house mom to the women. So they always were around. Like I'm walking to the store with them, I'm going and seeing dudes holler at them, or maybe they come in with a black eye. I'm just like, okay, I kind of that she didn't hit the doorknob. You know what I'm saying? Kind of thing. So you see all these things, and then as I got older, my other cousin, LB, another nickname, and then it's like he moves into the room next to me. And he sells crack. So, and then my other cousin runs the crack for him. Right? So I remember like it's yesterday, crack looked like soap when they breaking it up on a plate. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know, and I just see him doing it, and I'm just like, okay, you see the water on the stove, you know what I'm saying? You see that stuff. And it's crazy to me how, like you said, how I didn't get involved in it. Because I didn't have money, and my mom, I used to be afraid to ask for money. Yeah. So when I got to high school and I started playing football, I always wanted to go play football. Sports saved me because it gave me somewhere to be that was positive. And then when I couldn't play football, I was in basketball. So I went from basketball to football. And on Saturdays, I didn't have my bus pass. Bus pass don't work on Saturdays. Yeah. So if I ain't got no money, I can't go nowhere. Yeah. So I would go and I would try to make my mom sleep. I can't ask her. I'll go to LB. I say, LB, can I borrow a couple dollars? Can I take the bus? I want to go play basketball. Yeah. So he would give me money. Even gave me shoes one time. I wanted to impress this girl. I ain't had no shoes. He was selling drugs. He had all the shoes. It was like stacked up like a Reebok store. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, hey, man, can I borrow some shoes? I want to go on a date. So that was like literally like.
How old was you at that point?
I was 16.
Okay. All right. 16. High school days.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you gotta, that's when it matters right there. Okay, the teenage years, you're like, yeah, I'm trying to get fly.
So yeah, I'm trying to do something. I'm with a white tee. I'm just like, hey man, you gonna see these feats?
Yeah, no question.
So how did I navigate that? I really, man, I think the people around me to an extent, because I remember the dudes that were selling drugs and the people that was gangbanging. Yeah. When I would come back from practice late night with football practice, they would always be like, man, keep doing your thing, keep going to practice. So I never got pulled into that life, even though it was all around me. Like they even had some type of respect level for it. Like, all right, bro, you keep doing that. Yeah, you ain't got to be involved in this.
Ooh, man, that's huge, bro. That's so huge, and it's crazy. Obviously, I'm always bridging the gap from reality. Like there's reality and there's the ideal. I mean, like they're the ideals that we cultivate, a community that serves one another and elevates. Right? In my brain. I want to celebrate and elevate, but I'm never going to celebrate the wrong things because what gets celebrated is what gets done. Mm-hmm. And it's just so great that at least when they saw you and the fact that you weren't drawn to it, they kept you there, right? Like that's, like I said, because, yeah, you have negative influences. Ultimately, we're drawn to the things that we desire. And it's amazing how, I know that God can kind of preserve people in very indirect ways. So that's crazy. That's wild. So what would you say is the biggest obstacle, right? Like that you had to overcome throughout your journey up to this point? Like, as you're sharing some of these, as you share your life, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's an obstacle in itself. But for you internally and maybe even externally, what was the biggest thing where you was like, man, I don't know. You ever had an I don't know moment? And how did you overcome it?
It was, without sports, I wouldn't have made it this far. I'll put it like that. Because, like I said, these men that were in my life, like I said, all I seen was drug addicts, people coming from prison, and that was the rotation of men. And then my Roy, I love him, but he wasn't a figure that was moving in my life in that way to pick me up and show me something. Like he had some great qualities about him, but it never was like that pick you up son moments like that. Yeah. So what really changed my life was my coaches. So when I, got the coach, shout out Jimmy DeSantis.
Big shout out Jimmy.
Rest in peace, Coach Rudy, who's my defensive line coach, and all the coaches at Flushing when I went there, because they really helped ground me and give me like, hey, if you don't have a 2.5 GPA, you can't play. All right, if you don't come to school today, you can't go to practice. So that my mom never had to worry about me going to school. I used to wake up and about to go to school and watch my mom and my sisters watching Maury. Mind you, they supposed to be in school, and I'm leaving. They in there watching Maury and Jerry Springer and all. I'm like, yo, ain't they supposed to go to school? Like, but they just chilling, and I'm like, all right, but I never had to have a pull. Like my pull was, hey man, once I started playing football, if I don't come, I can't practice. And the camaraderie of just being around those dudes, those other young men that I was with, that's what motivated me to go to school.
It's powerful. No, motivation is one of the biggest factors, right? So it's kind of like this whole EQ world. Every man, we have to have a purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a motivating factor to attain or to achieve something, and then life is kind of like this big old hodgepodge. Like, what am I supposed to do, right? And that's why we all need direction. That's what we're trying to. So obviously, for you just as much as for me, sports changed the trajectory. The trajectory of my life, because it gave me a purpose, man. Like, I want to compete. I want to win. And it's so simple, right? I think in business, in life, there's the simple elements that everybody wants to succeed. But if you don't have the guidance, the direction, and ultimately the motivation, then you'll be subject to your environment. Mm-hmm. You'll be subject to these these detrimental factors that eat us away. So in light of we talking about eating, what's your favorite food, man? All right, no. That's where you break this thing up a little bit. But now I'm not even sure if you told me like football was your salvation, but what's the hardest thing? Was there injuries? Was it people doubting you? I know that's a big motivating factor for you is, taking a look. But what was the moment? Was there ever a moment where you was just like, I want to quit? And how did you internally overcome that? Well, and I've walked with you through some life, so I know you've had some down moments where, you're not playing as a Giant. You're drafted in the 3rd round. Talk to me about some of the more difficult experiences that you had and how you matured through.
The best part about my life that I'm grateful for is the fact that when I was going to quit, it was in the beginning. And what happened was, right, so basically I talk about my uncle becoming my mother and my father and raising me.
Sure.
But after probably a couple years, my grandmother really raised me.
Okay.
So she was she lived in the same house, and she really grabbed a hold of me.
Okay.
Especially as the only boy, she grabbed a hold of me, taught me taking out the garbage, taught me all these different things to help me grow as a young man. Okay. And she passed away right before I went to high school. So I never played organized football before. All I know is New York. Hey, quarterback, everybody else wide receiver. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Kill a man with the ball on concrete.
Kill a man, baby.
That's all I know, right?
Let's go.
So I go to high school, I go to Flushing, and then they're bringing back the football program. So I'm like, okay, let me try out for football. First of all, Coach D saw me in the hallway or something. I was still a pretty big kid. He was like, you playing football. I need you to come try out for football. You know what I'm saying? So I'll take him up in his offer. I go out there, and in springtime or something like that, and they got us in full pads running 300s. And people that don't know what 300s are, the football field is 100 yards and it's 50 yards wide. 52, I think. We got to run around the whole thing in the heat of spring like multiple times. I'm dying, okay? And I'm a little fat, chubby kid. I'm like, yo, this ain't it. This ain't it. This is football. I don't want to be here. You know what I'm saying? So I do that. And like I said, my grandmother pretty much raised me. And then she passes away. So I go home, and I'm like, for whatever reason, I'm getting my feelings, man. I get my feelings about my grandmother. I just came through this hard day of work, right, running in the sun. And I'm like, I told my mom, I said, I don't want to do it. I miss my grandma. And she looked at me. The best thing my mother ever told me was, she said, if you want to quit, quit because you want to quit. Don't quit because you're upset about that. And she told me that. I went in my room. I cried. Cried myself to sleep.
Cry like a man, baby.
Cried myself to sleep. I woke up and I never looked back.
Never thought about quit.
Oh, no, I won't quit. I'm not a quitter. Like, the one thing about me, I'll fail over and over again, whatever it is, but I'm not a quitter. So even once we got past that point, I didn't play as a freshman.
Sure.
Boom. But my sophomore year, I started center. I become an all-borough center, one of the best centers in Queens. Junior year, then I become an all-borough center again. Senior year, I go to left tackle, and then I'm an all-city defensive end. Boom. Then from there, I go to Syracuse. And then by the time I end my year in Syracuse, I'm all ACC. You know what I'm saying? I'm 74th pick overall out of 250 players.
Give me that resume, baby. Let's go.
So I never quit it. So when I got to the Giants, and I felt like I wasn't playing enough, right? And I had to figure out how to emotionally deal with that, and not because you realize it's a different environment. Like, this is a business. This is
we're gonna talk about that.
You know what I'm saying? All these different things. So you have to figure things out differently, how to maneuver, how to show your emotion, how to not show your emotion. And those were the things I struggled with. But I never was gonna quit. I always gonna figure out, okay, how can I get better?
All right, this is good. We're gonna open this up because I'm there, and I'm there literally every step of the way. How did I do for y'all as a DP? Was I whack? You can tell me. Keep it a buck. Give me I was the director of player development, director of player engagement. What's your mindset as a 22 years old, 22 years old? You coming in there, this dude, you talking about life and football and all kind of crazy stuff. You ain't got no choice but to sit up in there with me in these meetings.
Right.
And y'all had Charles Way on the front end too. So what's your thought process? You over here, I know what I was feeling like when I came in as a rookie in the league. So, but what's your thought process going through this? Because you're young, you're dumb, and you got ambitions. Mm-hmm. And you got this dude right here just trying to tell you how to get into life and find. How did you feel transitioning to the league? What were your biggest wins, and what was, when you look back at it now, like, damn, wish I would have listened a little better there?
Yeah, so first and foremost, you said, man, how do you feel as a player and this guy coming in here talking about all this life? Man, bump life. You know what I'm saying? Bump your life talk.
It's real.
I got money now.
Got money.
You know what I'm saying? You're not considering all these things. All the tangible things, like, it's unless you were raised in that environment, unless your parents had some type of influence on you that can help you. Hey, man, you need to think about life after football. You need to think about these situations that you can put yourself in. You have to think about you becoming a target now because of your status. Like, unless you have somebody that's really, and you're open to listening to a person like you,
there you go.
You don't really care. Like, you in the meeting because you got to be there. You know what I'm saying? I get fond if I'm not here. So I'm gonna sit in the crowd. You did a good job. Y'all had a little couple meetings. Y'all put a little play together. What if you go out? You know what I'm saying? And then somebody put something in your drink. You got a little girl with the skinny skirt come in there, show you this is what you're gonna get in the club. When they come like this, what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So y'all do a great job of really projecting what the possibilities are.
Yeah.
You know, but I would say if there's 10 players, 9 or 8 out of 10 of them is one ear out the other. Just because of I'm a rookie. So you hit me with this as a rookie. You're not hitting me this in year 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But then based on statistics, you can't wait that long.
There you go.
So it's the irony of that timing of all of it.
Yeah.
You know? So that's how I feel.
That's good. So you're a 3rd round pick. Obviously, there's expectations that come along with it. And you obviously had ability, so it wasn't necessarily the issue. But you did struggle emotionally, right? Like, things weren't as ideal in certain circumstances. Playing time was an issue. And like I said, I was there to try to help you manage some of that, because there's 2 things that's happening, right? Like, everything is evaluated. And you're not fully aware. You're aware, but you're not fully aware, right? You feel justified.
Right. Yeah.
He's out here, they bugging, right? Mm-hmm. And I had a similar experience myself, you know. So when you look back at it, what do you feel was one missed opportunity in how you handled yourself as a professional in light of what the challenges or obstacles were?
Humility. I would say it was humility.
Speak to it.
And it was amazing because I was fortunate enough to be in the league long enough to see how it was handled differently and how it was handled better. Meaning, I was with the Giants and I was playing, and then Hankins left, and it opened up a door for me to be the starter. And then I was a starter for the team, but they had drafted a 2nd round pick, Dalvin Tomlinson, who's an excellent football player.
Very good.
And I was a starter, and then I get hurt going into the final preseason game. So I'm like, okay, but in my mind, I already know, like, he's a 2nd round pick. Yeah. And kind of waiting on a reason to put him ahead of me. All right, I'm a 3rd round pick, but this ain't the coach that drafted me.
There you go.
So and this ain't the defensive coordinator that drafted me. So don't get me wrong, Coach Spagnuolo had a good rapport and all that good stuff, but I got all these things in the back of my head. Like, I can't, like, I get hurt. I'm balling. I get hurt. Dag, all right, boom. So now throughout the course of that season, I'm not just trying to be the best football player I can be. I'm measuring myself versus Dalvin every game, right? And then I'm perpetuating that on my coach. So if I play a better game than him, I'm looking at him like, why is he starting over me? Instead of being humble and saying, I'm rotating. I'm playing as much as a starter anyway. You know what I'm saying? Instead of just saying, let me just make the most of my reps, I'm concerned about this title. Yeah. Because in my mind, I need to be the starter. I need my name to be out there. I need my picture to come out. Jay Bromley, Syracuse University. You know what I'm saying? Ball Hard University.
Get him,
you know what I'm saying? I need that. You know, because that was all ego and pride. Because I felt like, man, I'm playing well. I belong here. Because it took me a while to figure out, like, nah, I belong here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I might, even if I'm not your top 32 or 64, whatever the top 2 defensive tackles is, I'm like, I belong in this league. It ain't 100 defensive linemen in the world better than me. You know what I'm saying? So when I say humility, it's because I remember, like it was yesterday, I remember I had played a real good game versus Washington or something like that. You know how you get graded. You get graded every single game. The grades are up on the board. You see your productivity and all that.
Here we go.
So I remember we go into our bye week. I'm 2nd on the team in quarterback pressures behind JPP. But I'm not the starter. Right, and I'm not even really the starter on nickel like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm making things happen, obviously. You know what I'm saying? So
obviously,
you know what I'm saying? Obviously, so I'm like, okay, boom. So I play a really good game versus Washington. Even the defensive line coach, he says, Jay, you doing real good things out there. Keep going. So I remember being in the meeting, and then my ego was just there. It was just like, all right, so am I the starter then? Like, you talking about how good I'm playing, like, so what that mean? You gonna make a change? You know what I'm saying? And that was all pride, and it was all ego instead of instead of humbling myself and just putting my best foot forward and going to study my film, going back to the drawing board, figuring out how I can improve.
Sure.
And when I say that, I learned later on how to go about it properly when I played for the Saints.
Sure.
I played with Sheldon Rankins and I played with David. He got a weird last name.
No,
David.
I'm the
Big
guy.
O. David O, man. Shout you out, bro. Your last name, man. Onyemar or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And what's my other guy name? Dag, my dog. You know who I'm talking about. I forget. But listen, long story short, I watched them rotate.
The defensive end. Yeah.
I watched them rotate, and I was like,
Cam Jordan, yeah.
I was like, that's how you handle it.
Yeah.
Because Sheldon was the first round pick. David was the 4th round pick in the same draft class. David had better production than Sheldon throughout the course of their same time in New Orleans, but Sheldon was always the starter because he was the 1st round pick. And he had more talent, but David had more production. Mm-hmm. So over time, I saw that, and I was able to play with them, right? And I was like, okay, that's how you handle that. Like, that's the right way. Yeah. Like, maybe I didn't know all of maybe any conversations, but from a day-to-day basis, how they helped one another, how they went about it, the conversations with the coach, they were just focused on getting better.
So powerful. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, what you're talking about, that flows from gratitude. It's like, not only do you belong here, but I'm thankful to be here, right? Wanting to be here. It was obviously I'm in certain meetings, and I would hear the negative feedback on Jay Bromley, and you my guy. I'm like, and I would randomly try to run up on you and give you some game, but I know how that role is a very interesting position because you're not the coach, right? Like, so it doesn't ring the same way, right? It's like, I can say the same thing, but unless it's at the right time, at the right moment, and you only got so much time to speak, it's like, so I'm like, and here's my biggest advice, and I think this works true in business. You got to get good at something fast, right? So for me, it was easy. I was all pro special teams player. Like, that's what kept me on the roster. And I think in my personal, I would look at him like, now he's productive, but there's not one thing that he's great at just yet. Like, you get in there and you cause a ruckus, but it's like you got the pressure, but you're not getting the sacks, right? When you get the sacks,
right,
nobody care about all your missed assignments and all that other stuff, right? Right. You can get pressures, but if you never get there, it's not as disruptive because you can get a pressure, somebody can get away, and they still make a play. And I'm like, man, this dude he's good enough. He's really good enough, but that attitude, but it really, it's the gratitude that keeps you grounded. And when you're grounded, you can take root and you can work all those things out because no one likes somebody that's pissing on their tree. And you can be silent and piss on somebody's tree. I remember some of those things. I'm like, Jakey. I'm like, no. So humility is huge, man. Humility is huge. But I was glad you got that opportunity in New Orleans. You had 5-6 years, 5-6 years in the league, and man, you did well, bro. Congratulations on an amazing run. What are you most proud of? Because now you're, like I said, you fully transitioned into the marketplace. You're a scrum master for a company, which is really dope. Number one, you're like huge. Like you're huge. You just up in the office. You kind. You over here like you just respectful. You done accomplished things in the league, and you're a full blown scrum master, which no one knows anything about. Right. But it's a fantastic career. I'm actually scrum certified myself. Just so y'all know. I got certifications out here. I'm certified.
Badged up.
Yeah, badged up, man. But talk to me about what is your proudest accomplishment? You're a father. You're a husband. You're a Christian. I had the privilege of marrying, and I put that out to the world. I'm like, he like, I ain't trying to lose my honey dip, man. Can you help me out?
During training camp, yeah.
No doubt, we got it done.
Got it done.
So your life is drastically transformed. What are you most proud of in your accomplishments, your career, all these things? You're. I don't know if there's another athlete in the scrum space. It could be, but I don't know if there's another one. It's a great story.
If I had to say something I'm most proud of, it's just the same thing that got me to everywhere I've ever been. It's not quitting. It's not giving up on myself, no matter the poor decisions, no matter the sequence of events, no matter what. When football came around, when football's over, it's like I don't feel bad about it because people can have their objective or subjective point of views. The reality of it is, I come from Jamaica, Queens. You
Come
know
on,
what I'm saying?
bro.
I come from Jamaica, Queens.
Home of the
I
Lost
didn't have no
Boys.
scholarships. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want me. You know, Syracuse didn't want me. I turned all those no's into history. Like, you can Google me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Google me, dog.
You know what I'm saying? You can Google me. Like, so I look at it like that, man. Don't quit. So now I take that same approach when it comes to the marketplace, and the same thing, Scrum Master, an opportunity to impact teams.
Sure. Love it.
I know what it's like to endure. I know what it's like to break down a process. I know what it's like to be a part of a Fortune 32 company. We don't understand that. So people don't understand where they are. I can look back at the process and say, there's 32 teams in the NFL. That's a Fortune 32 business. You know what I'm saying? You got to realize that the product is the game.
Yeah.
We are a part of that. We are part of the developers. We make this thing work as far as the players on the field. You know, and I just separate it like that. So now that I'm in the marketplace, I understand it's the same thing. We looking at the owners, the stakeholders, the CEO, the head coach. We looking at how we run this. We have projections, right? We got 16, 17 games. We don't look at it all at once. We cut it into quarters, don't we? Can we win the first quarter, win 2 or 3 out of those games? If we win one division game, it counts for 2.
Boom.
You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing. So you take that into the marketplace and you're like, okay, well, let's forecast this thing. We understand where we want to go, the Super Bowl. We get that. We want to be positive. We want to be in the black. But how do we win from week to week? How do we win from day to day? And how do we do it together? How do we make sure our teams are equipped enough from individual to individual so that we can execute at a high level and make sure that we communicate? So I literally just took what I had in football and the gifts that God has given me and took that into how can I impact businesses and help them make their product and their process more effective and efficient.
Super dope, bro. I mean, your disposition, you've always had a hunger for learning, hunger for growth, and a desire to get better.
Quick story. When I went to Syracuse University, I remember getting off the bus on South Campus, and like these band players were getting off the bus. And I get off the bus, and this girl, and she gets off, maybe she had a tuba or something like that. She falls. Mind you, this is main campus. This is a bunch of people walking by fast. Yeah. She falls. Nobody goes to try to help her up. Within like 5 seconds or so. Nobody tries to help her up. So I see her fall. I run over, pick her up. Hey, you okay? Going about your business, right? How you doing? Hope you have a good day. Hey, I'm glad you're okay. I'm thinking nothing of it. I'm about to just go to class, go get me a snack, maybe go take a nap and shine. You know how we do.
Shine, you know what I'm saying?
So I go to football practice later. I'm sitting in the office. I'm sitting in the meeting with the D-line. And then Coach Jimmy Bromley, shout out Jimmy, he comes in with a letter. And he says, I'm going to stop the meeting for a minute. I want to read this letter. And he says, it was a letter from the girl's parents. And the girl's parents wrote a letter. I didn't even know, I never told her my name. She found out who I was. Told her parents. Her parents wrote a letter to say thank you for helping my daughter. And that will always stick with me because that was integrity. That was me just doing the right thing, not being passive when it needs to be done. Right? So as a man, you'll have failures. Take ownership of it. You know what I'm saying? Take ownership of it. Look, man, it is what it is. I did that. How can we improve?
I like this.
Because you're not going to have all wins. You got to learn how to lose.
There we go. We got to learn how to lose, man. Bro, you just dropped a lifetime worth of gems with that story because, and I just said this, life is a war. And in a war, you may lose battles, right? But we're going to win the war. You're going to win the war, right? But you may lose a battle, right? Like there's bad days, right? It's like, dang. Today sucked. I can have a good attitude about a bad day. I can have a good attitude about a poor experience, less than stellar performance, right? And I think that our ability to mature through negative experiences and recognize the growth opportunities are going to transcend us in our evolution as leaders, husbands, fathers, whatever, employers, whatever, business owners, and that's really the goal. At the end of the day, is to know that you're a winner and to be able to overcome every obstacle and experience, man. Like, man, your story is still growing, it's still evolving, and man, I'm excited to be a small little part of this. So talk about what you're most excited about moving forward, and just what we can expect from Jay Brown.
Man, I'm grateful, man. I have a beautiful wife. I have 2 wonderful sons. I'm grateful. My life is full in that way.
Yeah.
Like we talked about the whole agile Scrum Master thing. So I look forward to impacting companies, help them improve their development process, and really growing that to something I can really consult and really expand. As well as Bromley Football Academy still being available.
Come on, let's go.
Still being available to help teams and people and young men get better at defensive line, man, because I'm a wealth of knowledge when it comes to that. I watch the game till this day, and I'm just like, and I know you know the feeling. You're just watching the game, and you can't even watch it. You can never go back.
It's different
to watching the game like a regular person. Like you watching, like, okay, what was his release? Okay, what personnel are they in? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, okay, nah, that's not holding. Come on, you know what I'm saying? Come on now, like let that go. Nowadays, you can't even touch the quarterback.
It's rough out there.
You know what I'm saying? They look, but they like I said, even the agile process, I understand business a lot better now. So I understand the product. So as much as I would hate the process of what is going on as a player, I understand who's selling the tickets. I understand who's throwing the ball. So I understand you got to protect the investment.
You got to protect it.
You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, just grab him real hard. Give him a good hug. You know what I'm saying? And then let him go.
Down nice.
You know what I'm saying? Bring him down with a pillow. Get a nice pillow out there. Make sure it got velvet on it, whatever you necessary. Some of them got long hair. Lawrence, he got nice hair. He might
give him a cut on the way down. Shape him up on the way down.
Right, man. They'll be all right. But, you gotta, do that, man, because it's all about the product.
It's good.
Like your product, what you're building here at, Catch the Moment podcast is a great product. You're bringing excellent people on. You have an excellent story, right, with your catch and how it impacted so many different people and transcends time when it comes to Giants. And now we're in the playoffs, making a little push, and everybody's reminded, like, last time we did, we when we do this, we do it.
Hey, they overcame the boat curse, man. They overcame the boat curse, man.
Right.
You was there for that season.
Right. I was there for that, man. Over there like, oh, why'd you go on the boat, man? But you couldn't wait a couple more weeks, man. You was trying to get some sun before we go to Green Bay. That's what it was.
That was it.
Put your shirt on, man.
It was wild. But nah, man, it's a beautiful thing, man. So I'm excited about your transition. All I've seen you do is be committed to growth, and that's what's exciting about your life, your journey, who you are as a man, who you are in becoming a disciple. That's even better. But also Bromley Football Academy. This dude is a walking treasure trove. So if you have a family member that's into sport, growing into sport, make sure you check in. Also, the Catch Camp is live. Make sure y'all hit David Tyree, hit the website. Catch the Moment podcast. Listen, if you want to partner with us as sponsors, as partners, make sure you hit the website. Every opportunity to grow a partner with the brand DT3 Enterprises is there. We want to thank you for your commitment. Thank you for the value proposition. And listen, we're on the way to getting great things done. Jay is family. I can't help but call them family. Everybody's family. So we appreciate y'all continue to serve the mission. We'll check out with y'all. Y'all continue to get great done.